Relocation is the real world. We're dealing with people's lives. There's going to be good things. There's going to be bad things. There's a lot of emotions. Sometimes you've got an excited transferee, but their spouse is not very excited. Don't want to leave their friends, right? Going and finding new schools, leaving a home that has sentimental value to you. Real world.
Welcome to another episode of Relocation Leader. I'm your host, Zach Turbis, and today we have a very special episode. I have Wendy Wortmann, expert account executive at NEI Global Relocation, and so we are certainly happy to have Wendy on. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Zach. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, so today we have a lot of things to talk about, but I wonder, before we get started, if you could just kind of let our audience know kind of what you do and maybe the value that you provide our clients and their relocating employees.
I've been at NEI for 14 years, and my role is the single point of contact for transferees, which means I am talking to the transferring employees and hearing kind of some concerns, answering questions, discussing policy, providing solutions to any needs that they have as a single point of contact. I am also trying to be solutions-based with maybe introducing our service partners, having them come in and offer assistance and guidance on things that the transferee needs. I have an assistant. My assistant's name is Manny. He's wonderful. He helps me with all of our relocation files. I also work with our client relations manager for reporting. I'm a liaison between other departments here at NEI. So, for example, our expense department, our transferees enter expense reports. I offer the assistance in providing documentation, getting those pushed through. And so I wear a lot of hats here at NEI, but specifically I deal directly with the transferee and their family.
So why would you say is it, important to have that like single point of coordination? It reminds me of, I read a book and it was talking about, that client satisfaction or customer satisfaction, a lot of it hinges on just how many times you are passed around to, other departments or whatever. And so I was wondering if you could kind of go into the way NEI structures, our account executives and how we're managing that interaction between transferees and, just why it's important to set it up that way.
Our structure is really important. Having a single point of contact for a transferee for a variety of reasons. Let's look at it from the transferee's perspective. So they're excited. They've gotten this job offer. They may be interviewed for the job. They're really excited about moving. They're a little nervous about moving to the new location. They're excited that they got relocation benefits. So they're kind of emotional. They're on kind of a high right now, thinking of all the things. They're excited, right? I go through that policy with them, and maybe the policy has got a variety of different benefits. Then you start to get overwhelmed because then you realize, oh my goodness, there is so much to do. I try to reassure them that I will guide them through the whole process. So having name recognition, having somebody that you can call, you can email at any time. My job is to have visibility to all of those benefits. And I think that brings them peace because, oh, I forgot the name of the moving company. That's okay. I'm going to email Wendy. She'll answer my question, or she'll put me in touch with the person that I forgot who they were. It's so important because sometimes there's a lot of moving parts. Not every relocation's like that. We have some that are, just get a lump sum payment. And it's not just a lump sum payment, but just limited benefits. And then some that are very rich policies that offer a lot of benefits. And having a single point of contact just allows them to know that while they have a lot going on, they've got peace of mind knowing that they can always come to Wendy or to NEI and start with me first and then get any questions or concerns answered. So it's very important that we have that single point of contact just for streamlining the process that could be complicated.
So I really like looking at the Google reviews when they come in, or, like refreshing it and seeing what new Google reviews pop up there. And for me, it's really rewarding seeing, all the transferees actually take the time to, recount their experience. And there always seems to be this, I really enjoyed working with this person. Like they always mention like the account executives, and that seems to be like a theme. So I was wondering if you could just explain sort of the relationship built, as you guys are moving them, to their new location.
So for me, it it can be very personal, right? They're letting us into their lives. We are helping them maybe sell a home, purchase a home, move their goods, help them with finding schools. That's touching a lot of that. That's affecting potentially spouse, children, in laws, if they've got family moving with them. So for us, we really set the tone during our initiation phone call, asking them those questions. And we listen and we empathize. I've relocated myself. So I feel like I'm coming from a place of understanding. When I hear somebody have concerns because they have a child with special needs, oh, we have a service partner for that, right? So I feel like we can offer really just being a friend. And I know that kind of sounds cliche, but really just being that genuine, caring relocation manager. I'll probably never meet them, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to care for them in that moment that they need help relocating from one place to another. So I would say the empathy, and the reason why they probably say us by name is because we're that thread through all the benefits.
Mm.
We have that initiation phone call. We are introducing and doing warm handoffs to those service partners. And then our service partners copy us on all communication. So I'm like that second set of eyes for them. I'm making sure those benefits line up, the timing lines up, that they're being utilized as they're intended. If there's a wrong date, I'm sending a separate email saying, hey, did you mean to do this? And it's just, they're busy people. They've got their jobs going on. They've got their family things going on. Let me help you. Let me be that second set of eyes. And I think that that's appreciated. And that's probably why they notice by name.
Nice. Now, through previous conversations, I happen to know you actually work with a lot of executives as well on their move.
Yes.
And so you have a lot of experience kind of with both, like executives and people who are not executives. And I was wondering if you could maybe go into, some of the differences and maybe if there are any challenges one way or the other.
Sure. So for our newer hires, they typically don't receive as many benefits. And for me, I end up finding that I ask questions like, have you looked online? My line of questions changed depending on their experience, their level coming in. Have you moved before? Where are you coming from? Do you still live at home with your parents? Things like that. So my line of questioning is a little bit different because they don't know what they don't know. So if they are looking in the new location and they've never had to sign a lease before, I'm always telling those kinds of population, don't go and rent something off online. Go there, see it. You never know what the pictures are, right? So just offering guidance to somebody at that level versus an executive who may have moved. This might be a sixth move. He or she could do this with their eyes closed. I've been professionally moved. I've sold all my houses. I've qualified for mortgages. You don't necessarily have to offer that kind of guidance, but it's different because we're talking about different benefits. Those tend to be richer policies, so to speak, meaning more benefits being offered at that level.
I'm sure that the economy has some role to play in that. But is there anything we should, pay attention to with policies as it relates to sort of the trends, that we're experiencing right now?
Right now, we are seeing probably a pause, probably from our corporate clients based on the economy right now, given it's just an election season. Inflation's a little bit high. And so we've seen a little bit of a slowdown when it comes to relocations. I think they're looking at where business needs, so to speak. I work with a lot of clients that have capped base moves. I've got some clients that don't have cap based moves. So it just depends on the transferee, which corporate client they're coming from. And really, I would say core flex policies are something that we're tending to move for, is instead of having the black and white policies, the here's your standard set, we're seeing more of a shift towards your core flex policies, which allows the transferee to then kind of pick and choose which benefits are going to work for them, which I think is helpful, especially in this kind of an economy.
Yeah, it really does kind of help strike that balance between, how can we still support the relocating
Yes,
employee, but also be mindful of our costs because that
correct.
has to be accounted for.
Yep, it's a very nice balance. That's very well put. I think that that's a good solution to hiring new people or transferring people and allowing them to have a little bit of say in how that move goes for them. I think that's
Yeah.
good. Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, what is probably like one of the most surprising challenges in your career that you've dealt with a transferee, and sort of how did you overcome that?
A challenge for me probably deals with a lot of home sales, a
Mm,
lot of multi-million dollar properties and home sales inspections, trying to find a balance between making sure our corporate client is protected, but also making sure that our transferee who's moving, who owns the home, also gets a fair deal. I think that's a very delicate area. I don't have anything specific to share outside of that tends to be where most of my challenges come in at, is the home sale piece and
What about
inspections.
the home sale and inspection process makes it so challenging?
Just depends on the area, depends on
Yeah.
who you are as a homeowner. Do you do your maintenance on your property? Right? Some people aren't very good at doing the standard maintenance, and it shows up in a home inspection. I would say mold is very common for homes, but it's a hazardous material and it has to be remediated. And sometimes that process can be very challenging, especially depending on the region that you live in,
Mm,
right? So, Florida, if you've got mold in your crawl space, it's just very hard to remediate and very hard to move forward. So I think that can be
yeah.
frustrating for people.
Unfortunately, it looks like a lot of Floridians might be experiencing that or worse now.
Yeah, which is
All right.
unfortunate.
So I do have some fun questions that I kind of wanted to mix in here with you.
Oh boy.
These ones, I always like to kind of like keep these ones close to the vest and not let you know they're coming. But I love quotes. And so I got a quote and a question for you that I wanted to get your reaction to. All right. So this is actually a Bill Gates quote. It says, "Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. What's the most valuable lesson you've learned from a challenging relocation experience?" So piggybacking a little bit on what we talked about.
I have 14 years of experience at NEI, and I learn something new all the time. I learn something from people about their cultures, about what they feel, communication styles. I'm old school. I always pick up the phone and talk to people. That's kind of transferring, to where it's just an email, and that's socially acceptable. Some people are okay getting an email. I definitely like having conversations, but I've got so many experiences, so many, like I said, the home sale piece, when you're delivering those inspection results and somebody on the other end does not, they get a little argumentative or think, something comes up. Those are learning experiences, just how you talk to people, how you deliver it, making sure that you've got some solutions, right? There's got to be some sort of prep before you deliver those negative results. And NEI provides training. We have training all the time on certain things, just customer service and how to respond and how to react. But I have got way too many opportunities to learn. I'm constantly learning through situations.
Nice. How about misconceptions? So do you often hear any misconceptions from the relocating employees themselves? And how do you kind of coach them through, that in their mind?
So I think a place of confusion would probably be home sale, like buyout types. We have what's
Mm-hmm.
called a BVO, which is a buyer value option home sale. And then we have a guaranteed buyout, which is for short, is GBO for short. And so sometimes people hear buyout or home sale and they think the company is going to buy their house. And that sometimes is not the case. Sometimes they have to market their home, sell it, and then maybe submit for reimbursement. So I think that home sale or buyout are words that tend to throw people off for a little bit. And so
Hmm.
sometimes they're disappointed finding out, oh, my company's not going to buy it. I don't just get a price, right? I have to actually market my home and go through that process, make sure it's show ready. There's just more work that goes into that. But I would say that's probably one that gets confused.
I'm curious about, we just talked about the economy and how, some companies are moving more to the core flex because it helps with that balance. Is there anything else you can think of with regards to like, is there maybe like a small change that companies can make to their policies that have a big impact to the employee? Maybe even besides the core flex?
Recently, one of our clients typically has a policy where they process a lump sum payment. And NEI has come up with some technology where we offer them our platform. And when they go on and log into our platform, we help them with mortgages, home finding agents, and moving companies, which is in addition to that lump sum payment. Plus, they've got us, they've got their account executive, their assistants, people at NEI also working with them and for them. Recently, we had a client offer rental finding assistance, which on the surface of it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but when you're new to an area and you're moving thousands of miles and you've exhausted your resources online, you can only do so much online for a minimal amount of money. It allows the rental finding that real estate agent to contact that transferee and be the eyes and ears on the ground for them, be a source of direct local information, which again doesn't cost a lot of money, but the impact, that feeling of feeling valued and their employer wanting them to be successful, wanting to provide that assistance and helping them find a new place. It was a small change, has a small financial impact on them, but the reward on the other side of an employee feeling valued and happy to relocate, I don't think you can put a price tag on that.
Yeah. That kind of falls in line. And I know that when we were talking earlier, we talked about that, we don't want to underestimate how challenging it is, for some of these transferees to move when there are limited benefits, and I think that's a really good example of a way that you can just slightly adjust the policy where it doesn't hurt your pocketbook so much, but it does make a big impact. Can you speak any more to basically the challenges that some of these transferees are facing in times where maybe they're not getting as rich of benefits, like you said?
I think one example would be the fact that we work with our clients, right? And so we're seeing the transferees, we're seeing the same policies come through different people. So if we're starting to see a trend, we tend to go back to our client and say, hey, we're starting to see that people need this benefit, or this could really benefit your employees, and we make a suggestion and then they think about it, or maybe they'll make an exception or they'll change their policy. But as far as having limited benefits, again, NEI has just been making so many good strides with our technology, with our NEI Global Gateway, that which is external facing. So our clients utilize that, our transferees utilize that. We're also making changes internally for our technology that we as employees use to help track moves and things like that. And so I can't say specifically what it would be that I would change, just because we work with so many clients who offer so many different policies. And I think that we've just, as a company, we've done a really good job responding and improving our platform and having that be a good first resource. And then maybe our service partners. I mean, we have wonderful service partners. And so if we need to have somebody help in rental finding, in home finding, in mortgages, whatever it would be, we can just pick up the phone. We've got such good partnership with our service partners that they're an extension of us. And so I'd feel comfortable doing that.
Man, you said a couple of things I really want to jump at right now.
Sure.
So, the first thing I guess is, with our service partners, like, can you explain, it's not just a simple contract for us. You said that they operate as an extension of us. Can you explain why, the service partners in the relocation industry is just different, like,
It is.
can you just kind of expound on that a little bit?
So our service partners are vetted, right? They may have to meet certain criteria, but then they kind of go through a trial phase where we want to make sure that they say they're going to do what they are going to do. In my job, if I say I'm going to do something, I follow through on that. And I would expect our service partner to offer the exact same level of service. If you say you're going to call them at such and such time, you call them. If you say you're going to provide, documentation for whatever topic, we want you to do that. So that's how it starts. But we don't lose service partners very often. I mean, we've got long-standing relationships. I could tell you, moving companies and temporary housing providers and mortgage lenders and things like that. We have people asking to be our service partners, which is really nice. And we can be selective on who we partner with. And I just think that is a testament to how we run our relocation. Just how we are as a company. We set very high standards. Internally, we say service exceeding expectations. That is exactly how we operate. And so having service partners that talk the talk, I guess, is really important to have, making sure that they take care of our transferees when they're not in our presence, so to speak. So
I think one of the things that blew me away was, when you're communicating like expectations, the amount, like the receptivity, like how receptive they were to operating within like your guidelines, what you want. It is pretty incredible, the service partners that we've chosen to work with, how in it to win it they are, like they definitely buy into,
yes.
our philosophy. And you do feel like when we get together every year at our GPA, that it's like one big company just, coming
right?
together.
Yes. And who wins in that relationship? Our corporate clients, our transferees, right? Because we've got such good relationships and we work very well together, and we all have that general understanding of who's important in the equation. So yeah, it's good. Yep. I like it.
And I'm aware of, because you can't plan for every contingency. Something will go wrong,
yep.
At some time. But, the service recovery aspect, how you can, call up a service partner and say, hey, this happened. It wasn't ideal. How can we make it better? How can we make things right? I mean, just how lightning quick they are to, hop on it and make things better it makes us look good,
Yes.
I think that's why we have such longstanding relationships, is because we really chose the character qualities that matter in the people we're doing business with. And it shows big time.
And it makes my job easy.
Yes.
Right. And when I know that I have to make a household goods referral, I know exactly which company I'm going to go with based on the region, right? So especially when NEI gets to choose it, sometimes we have client directed benefits and providers that we have to use. And sometimes that can be a little bit of a challenge because they're not bought into the process like our NEI vetted service partners are. So I've seen both sides of it. And when you say that they will absolutely correct a wrong, that is right. They will make it right. And that is it's a relief. It's really nice to know that we partner with people that will say, you know what, my bad. Here's this. This is how, what we can do to make this right. And of course that includes the transferee, right? Because it's not just me or the service partner making that call. It's really the triangular communication between us, the transferee, and the service partner. So.
Yep. So the other direction I wanted to take this that you made me think of was, as things sort of evolve and change, and as technology becomes a bigger part of our life, and, new generations are entering the workforce, I'm sure some clients are sort of like trying to think for themselves and figure out, like, how important is it that we work with somebody that helps manage the move from start to finish, with our transferees, versus maybe the self-service model. And like, when does it make sense to use one over the other? And why is there still going to be a need for what you do, Wendy?
Well, I will always advocate that any corporate client needs a relocation management company. Zach, it's let me help you. I'll handle the initiation phone call. I'll do the benefits discussion. Our expense department will manage those expenses and track everything accordingly and provide you a nice report back. Our client relations people. There are so many variables, so many reasons why you should use a relocation management company. We've recently had a new client come in that was doing all of their own internal relocations. And the feedback that we get is, this is so nice. Just being able to read reports, field a few questions here and there. They're able to change their focus. And it's not so much managing temporary housing complaints or the movers didn't show up or some of those unexpected things that happen, right? That's my job. Let me do that for you. I'm happy to coordinate and handle. It just allows, and then just the personal touch for that transferee, right? They have a dedicated person at NEI that is going to manage every aspect of it. They can count on us, right? And so I would like to think that, yes, there's technology, but you cannot beat picking up a phone and calling a Wendy Wortmann or somebody else at NEI and getting somebody on the phone.
It really reminds me. So one of my favorite quotes is actually a Mike Tyson quote where he says, everyone's got a plan until they get hit in the mouth,
Oh,
and it just makes me think of technology can go really well in a lot of circumstances, right? But because relocation is just such a complex, maneuver, there are things that are just inevitably going to go wrong. And anyone who's had something go wrong and all they have is a chat bot to talk to, they know that that's not the best option,
correct.
And I think that you're constantly, putting out fires, even in such a way that sometimes the account or the transferee doesn't even know that fires are being put out on their behalf.
Right. Yes.
But you are sort of holding back the tide in so many situations. And I just don't know if technology can ever be that good.
I would totally agree with that. I would, because and it's not only fires, but we are also anticipating.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's my job to look at a soft timeline based on when they want to move, when their job start date is, and how those benefits should be utilized. My job is to establish a timeline, hear them out, put proper people in front of them to execute. You can't do that all through technology. You can't just click a button. Now, that doesn't mean that just because you're working with me that maybe you're not going to get to the moving company and they're going to have you sign something electronically, right? That's going to be sprinkled in just because that's where we're going, more technology-based type within benefits, if that makes sense. Or if you would do an application online for a mortgage, it's going to be online, right? The days of paper applications are gone. So that I don't want to make people think that use NEI and there's no electronics, right? No, you're still going to absolutely have to do some of that. We send a lot of our stuff electronically. And so it makes it just quicker. It's very straightforward and it's clean. It's very clean. So.
Yeah, because the answer is never going to be just like human, do you want humans or do you want machines?
Right.
It's always going to be a combination of both, but the balance matters,
Absolutely.
If your job as an account executive were turned into a movie, would it be more like Mission Impossible or Groundhog Day, and why?
Oh my gosh, Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day, because we do the same stuff over and over again, right? Our process at NEI is exactly the same. Details change, people change, but I don't want it to sound like that's all that it is. It's not like we're putting it through some sort of a process and does that make sense? It would be Groundhog's Day because of our procedures, but.
Well, because you want to provide consistency. And so the only way, it's not that you're not tailoring your tone of voice or, the questions you ask or it's not like those things don't get tailored, but, like you said, it's important for consistency's sake to have a consistent process so that your clients can rely on the service every time,
Yes.
you know?
And everybody at NEI relies on that process too, right? It starts in operations and then it moves to expense tracking. And then our service partners also bill. And so there is a certain procedure that we follow that everybody follows to make us a cohesive unit, if that makes sense. I just don't want it to sound like they're not special or they're not important, the
Hmm.
details being the transferees, because they are. But again, like we were saying, the procedure and following a process is very important. Reliability, expectations, our clients know exactly what they're going to get, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, he's going to
Well,
reach out in 24 hours.
yeah, response times. It's like you
Yep.
want to make sure that that doesn't vary, right?
Correct. Yes. And it's good because then all of us account executives and our assistants, everybody operates to a certain level or certain standard, which is really important. So I know that when I'm filling in for another account executive, I know what NEI's expectations are. And I give every transferee the same service, whether it's my file or somebody else's file.
Hmm.
Obviously, the correct information. But as far as turnaround times and professionalism and things like that, it's very important.
So I get to hear from, like CRMs, account executives, people that have been at other companies and come to NEI
Yeah.
and, they get to explain, wow, like this is the difference. But you have a different experience because you've been here for 14 years. Can you explain a little
Yes.
bit, for you, like why you've stayed with NEI for 14 years, like,
So I like my job. I like the people I work with. I was hired under Janelle Anderson. I remember I did my phone interview with Randy. She's our CEO, and so I did my phone interview with her, and then I was hired in. I did an interview with Janelle. Those people are still here. The philosophy of NEI is something that resonates with me. Service exceeding expectations. It's I guess kind of who I am to the core. I enjoy my job. I have got a great director. Her name is Sandy. I've never worked with anybody else at NEI. She's been my only director. I have the same clients, so there has not been a lot of change, which is good. I get new clients, but I haven't necessarily been. I don't want to say removed, but sometimes clients leave, right?
mhm,
Sometimes they for different reasons, but it's just been really nice because the consistency, the leadership, the guidance, the mentorship is still there. Right now I'm seeing some people retire that I really enjoyed working with, which is
mhm,
unfortunate, but they've been here for so long and they're ready to go on to the next chapter, which I'm excited for. But I don't know. I feel like NEI is a great place. I grew up here. I didn't go to college thinking I was going to get in relocation. I can tell you that. It's just
mhm,
something that kind of fell into my lap. So I have my real estate license and I have experience moving. I moved a few times myself without assistance, which is where I can come from when I'm talking about knowing personally through personal experience what it's like to get, oh, here's some money, move to Kansas City, which is what happened to me, trying to figure
mhm.
out where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do. It comes from a place of experience. And so I don't know, I just really enjoy NEI. I enjoy what we stand for. I enjoy our service partners. I think that just good people. And I don't know
Mhm.
any different. And I'm okay with that.
So, what are some overlooked factors that can turn a successful relocation into a costly one if not managed properly?
I would say home sale, potentially go in the wrong direction. If we have, again, tying to appraisals or inspections. Another one would be a household goods move. If expectations are not managed, that I mean, and you've got maybe a transferee that's packing their things and they shouldn't be, or something's happened on delivery. Every single benefit could possibly be a catastrophe if it's not managed properly. That's why we at NEI we just take so much pride in setting those expectations up front. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to hear it in that initiation phone call, which is why we also have follow ups and touch points. As they hit a milestone, we're going to check back in and we're going to make sure they understand, okay, now that this is done, now you need to do this. And we're feeding them reminders so that stuff like that doesn't happen because that's a terrible phone call to make to a transferee and to a corporate client. And so we try to avoid that, to be honest with you. I mean, usually your bigger ticket items are going to be home sale, home purchase, and then your household goods. But we really try to mitigate that by setting and managing those expectations right from the get go. And we've got seasoned account executives that do a really good job, and opening that door and making sure that it's open communication. before you make a move, make sure you just check in with me. Not that they have to, but I want them to be comfortable enough to just be like, hey, Wendy, I'm doing a home finding trip. Okay, great. Remember, keep your receipts, make sure you keep track of your mileage or whatever it would be. And we're just offering any guidance and assistance that we can to avoid situations like that. It's worth my time in the moment to avoid something that could be costly.
Nice. Okay. Well, Wendy, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was great having you, and we had a great conversation.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks for having me on here and allowing me to kind of talk about our role and operations. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And for all of you, thank you guys for joining another episode of Relocation Leader, and we will see you next time.